I'm really pleased to announce that our next session is going to be run by Lyn Cruickshank, who's the Managing Director of a healthcare comms agency called Wallace Health. Now, Lyn has a very special interest in sustainability in the industry, and she runs the Sustainability Initiative for the PM Society, and we're really looking at how we can make the industry far more sustainable. So it's a really important initiative. Lyn's going to give an overview of the initiatives that pharma and healthcom agencies are taking to meet the requirements for sustainability and environmental impact now and in the future. And before we start, hands up if you feel that this is a really important issue when you're considering a career. Well, that's excellent. We've almost done our job then. Anyway, I'd like to introduce Lyn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for pronouncing Cruickshank correctly. It's one of those, it's actually just a Scottish name, but nobody can ever pronounce it. So anyway, so I have to do my bit for the Cruickshank family every time I talk. So sustainability, as you say, really important. I've got colleagues who work in the wider advertising industry, and they struggle to recruit to work on energy brands now. Young people just don't actually want that on their CV. So we know that it's a really important topic. As part of the generation that created the problem for you guys, I'm pleased to say that we are learning the hard way, and we are doing a lot to try and sort of put things right. But I want to give you a little flavour about our particular sector of the industry, and what we are doing and what our clients are doing, and how you might the sort of things you might look for when you're looking for a career. So things that you know already, we've got to cap global warming at 1.5 degrees. Are we going to achieve that by mid-century? We don't know, but we're all still trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It has to continue to be a mission for everyone on the planet, really. What are the pharmaceutical industry doing? So obviously there are some very, very large organisations, global organisations. They've been established for quite some time. It's a big challenge for them to try and reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. They can't do it overnight, but they're certainly committed to it. There is an organisation called, it's actually called White Knights, and what they do is they look at different companies, and they see what their sustainability footprint is. Most companies, pharma companies, will say they are committed to net zero by mid-century, and I just pulled a few here off their website, so you can see GSK, that's obviously based here in the UK, Novo Nordisk, and they're all committing that by mid-century they will have, there'll be net zero, and what that means is that they are not putting any more greenhouse gas into the atmosphere as a result of their operations. And you can imagine their operations are huge. They've got manufacture, they've got distribution, they've just got research, it's a really hard challenge, and they're huge organisations, and they're global. But nevertheless, they're doing it. How are they doing? I mentioned to you the White Knights. Well, there are about 4. It changes year on year, but there are certain names that appear every year in terms of a global ranking. And this looks at things like sustainable energy, renewable energy solutions. Are they energy efficient, and are they actively buying into the circular economy? Which means that they are not putting anything into waste. They're actually reusing everything. Novo Nordisk, you might be familiar with this company. If everybody recognise these names. They're a Danish company. They're number 53 in the last ranking. It changes every year. Novozymes, they are, I think they're also Scandinavian. They're 58. Sanofi, they're French, 66. AstraZeneca, they're a Anglo-Swedish company, 95. They're currently the only 4 healthcare in the whole of the top 100. There are other rankings as well, so there may be other companies. But just to give you a sense that this is really important to these companies, that they want to be seen to be sustainable, and there are many of the others. You'd struggle to find now any pharmaceutical company that didn't have a very active policy and a definite drive to reduce their emissions by mid-century. So what can we do? We're small companies, even though small companies, mostly as an SME, a small to medium-sized enterprise. Most ad agencies, majority will fall into that. Some of the big networked agencies don't, but the majority of us are kind of less than 100 people or even less than 500 people. That still classes you as a small company. So we do make a contribution, and we are part of that supply chain. So every company that supplies, whether it's in raw ingredients, whether it's distribution, office buildings, energy, anything is part of that supply chain. So our clients do demand that we help them meet their net zero goals. And it's something that that we have to do. So it's not something that we like to do. It's very often a requirement of working with these companies, which is a good thing. It's good to know that it matters that much. So how do we do that as smaller companies? Well, there's two things we can do. The first thing is we can change the way we work. We can ad agencies, you don't fly around first class anymore, or certainly we don't. It's like, get the train, work from home, work through obviously video calls and things like that. Now it's that, you don't need to fly across the globe to have a meeting anymore. You don't need to fly to set up, go to every single conference and take the whole team with you. There's a big change in the way people are actually traveling globally, and we have to be really careful about that. We can switch to renewable energy. A lot of offices now in London, or certainly the modern offices, the WeWork doesn't exist anymore, but we're in Second Home building, which is based in Spitalfields, and it's totally renewable energy. So that's the kind you can obviously look for to work in an organisation that only operates on renewable energy, and then obviously reduce waste as well. And I think I just had a glass of water outside in a single-use plastic cup, so I thought, oh no, I hope nobody photographed. I just hid it in my bag. But seriously, it's those kind of things that we need to really, really be conscious of. And even though they're very sort of tiny acts, they all add up. And then reduce the carbon impact of our activities. And one of the big things that ad agencies love to do is hand out awards to each other and themselves. And here you can see the PM Society Awards, which is a hugely successful event. But a lot, if you imagine you've got a big venue, everybody's eating beef Wellington, it's a really, really kind of big carbon footprint just from one event. So there's a lot of work that we can do, sort of trying to make every event as sustainable as possible. And that's really hard because you have to work with the owners of the building, and they maybe don't have the infrastructure in place, but nevertheless, it's the challenge that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis. There is an organisation called Ad Net Zero, if you want to look at it. It's from the Advertising Association has set it up. It represents the whole of the ad industry in the UK, and a lot of the bigger agencies that you'll have heard of help fund that as well. And they do a lot of activity globally to try and reduce the impact. The second thing we can do is change the kind of work that we do. Now, sustainable production. So if, for example, you make a film, everybody's producing film, or everybody wants video at the moment, everybody wants stuff on YouTube, and everybody wants, everything has to be on a video. But that can actually be a very costly process because the type of equipment you're using, if you've got film teams traveling, you've got big chuck wagons, you've got everything, can be a really energy expensive activity. So there are organisations now, Ad Green is one that a lot of agencies have signed up to, and you can go through Ad Green training, and they also have like a calculator where you can, every time you go filming, you have to put all your information in there, and it tells you, how many tons of CO2 are going to be created, and where you can reduce that impact. So that's really good as well. So things like that really matter. The other thing is media choices. Less so perhaps in the pharmaceutical sector, because we don't really, TV advertising isn't really, because we can't advertise direct to the public, so we don't really do much TV advertising, all these big outdoor posters that you see all along the sides of the main roads, which can be, you can imagine some of them are very hungry on energy. But there are even simple things like if your website is really slow to load because it's got lots of big images on it, that's creating a carbon impact. So you need, if you've got a website that loads in 3 or 4 seconds, quite apart from the user experience, you're actually doing a positive thing for the planet as well. So there's lots of things there that we work with on a day-by-day basis. And the second thing that's really important is that, we work in communications, and our whole job is about influence and behaviour change. And we can do the same thing with the kind of work we do in helping our clients as well. And there's an organisation called Change the Brief, which does a lot of training, and what they ask you to do and help you to do is to, we have a thing called, if you're not sure what a brief is, when we work with a client, they give us what's called a brief, and that's got everything in it about what their challenges are, what they want to achieve, what they want you to, what the goals are of this, and then we respond back with we can do this, and this, and lots of kind of creative ideas, and they like it, and if they like it, we get the go-ahead and we do the work. But sometimes that brief can be asking us to do things that we think, actually, that's not very sustainable. So we may say, actually, there's a better way of doing this, which we think would be more effective. And clients won't always know that because they're not working in communications necessarily. The other thing we can do is introduce sustainable objectives. And in fairness, clients often do this as well because they want us to communicate to their audiences that they are ticking the sustainability box as well. So there's kind of 2 ways that we can weave that into our briefs. No greenwashing. We can't just say, nobody can really say anymore and not prove. And there's a lot of movement here in terms of how you demonstrate your sustainable credentials. EcoVadis, you may have heard of, is a very large global organisation. They have a set of standards which a lot of big businesses sign up to. A lot of pharma clients use it, or quite a number of them do. It's very rigorous. It requires evidence of everything, right down to what kind of staff snacks you have and whether or not they're in a recyclable package, or it's really, really rigorous, down to do you have electric charging points, and are they using renewable energy as well. Clients will ask agencies to have it. I think Cutsy and Cutsy, who are sponsoring this event, they have achieved it. It's good for them. It's a fantastic achievement. They're not the only agency, I have to say, but they have, and it's a tough one. The other one you might look for is B Corp. I'm proud to say that Wallace Health, my agency, is a B Corp. This is a broader remit. It includes inclusivity, it includes and diversity and inclusion, it includes governance, good governance. It's a whole bunch of things, but environmental and sustainability is part of it. And again, that is a good sign, and it's quite rigorous. It's probably not quite as hard as EcoVadis, but it's definitely, having just gone through it over the last 12 months, a tough one to get. And a lot of agencies have this. It's quite popular with smaller companies as well. So if you see that, that's quite nice because it will include all kinds of other things as well. A sign of a responsible employer. But that's not to say companies that don't have it, it doesn't mean to say they're not. So just want to reassure that. So greenwashing is getting harder. And finally, if anybody's interested, we have a toolkit which has a lot of these different things that I've talked about here are listed in this toolkit. If you are interested in having a look, you can download it here off our PM Society website. That's it really, and it's a job for all of us, I think. So looking forward to the next generation taking this challenge as well. So thank you very much.